What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today we have a storytime episode of r/ChoosingBeggars. Now the first one I made was a long time ago, but you guys seem to like it, so I hope you enjoy. Choosing beggar upset because I won't just get up and move. I never thought I would be so privileged to meet a CB out and about in my own life, but that just changed about 15 minutes ago. I am visiting my parents over the weekend and decided I would go to a cafe and get some work done to combat the boredom. I walk in, order a coffee, sit down, and begin to unpack my laptop and some books from my pack. I turn on my work/study playlist and get to work. To give you some orientation of the cafe, I am sitting in a corner next to one of those fake fireplaces. There are 2 tables next to it, and a woman and her daughter are occupying the other. A few minutes after sitting down, a woman, probably in her 40s, platinum blonde hair, designer handbag, obvious plastic surgery, etc., comes up to my table and shoves her hand into my face, waving it wildly in front of my computer screen. Rude. I remove my headphones, and before I could even say a word, she bluntly asks me in a fake, sugary sweet voice if I could please move. I am confused a bit, and I look around at the cafe. There are plenty of seats all around. I begin to tell her that there are plenty of seats, but she abruptly cuts me off and exclaims, "Yeah, so could you please move to one?" I look at her and just kind of blurt out "no" in an admittedly awkward way. She doesn't skip a beat, and with a complete change in her demeanor, retorts that this is where her friend and her always sit when they come here, and that it's a tradition. This is when I spot her friend standing meekly a few meters away. Confusion is over. I am now getting annoyed. I tell her that I would not move and that they would have to find another spot. I put on my headphones quickly and try to force the situation to be over. In true choosing beggar fashion, this was not the case. She starts saying, "Hello," over and over with increasing loudness. The barista notices, comes over quickly, and promptly asks if there is a problem. At this point, I have my headphones on, but I have the music off so I can listen to her fabricate some brilliant lie. She actually tells the truth and explains to the barista about her situation of sitting at this table, blah blah blah. I then get the pleasure of hearing the barista, who's probably 18 years old, painfully explain to the choosing beggar hag that because I was sitting there first, that she would have to find another seat with her friend or wait until I had left. CB gave up rather quickly and huffed and puffed her way into a chair a few tables away. We are both still here, and I am hoping the woman and her kid next to me don't plan on leaving anytime soon. Also, not impressed by the coffee, but great seating. Much like this fake platinum blonde woman who just wanted her traditional table, most choosing beggars give up relatively quickly because even they know that they have no ground to stand on. Choosing beggar turns down a $100,000 a year job. I was on the train to work yesterday. A well-dressed and articulate 20-something male gets on the train. He begins his speech to the entire train carriage, 50 or so people, explaining that he has lost his job and had been kicked out of his home by his parents and needs whatever help he can get. He proceeds to walk around collecting money, and surprisingly a handful of people handed him change. I ask him whether he is physically fit. He is decently built, to which he responds, "Yes." I ask whether he wants to work. He says, "Yes," again. I have connections with various labor hire agencies and subcontractors in my city that are actively and desperately looking for laborers. I tell him I can get him a job starting ASAP, paying about $2,000 per week before tax, doing manual labor. Not even heavy manual labor, but fairly light tasks. These are casual roles, so he could use this to get back on his feet. His response? "I'm really just looking for some money, not a job." After spending tons of money and a week of my time on a friend's wedding, she confronts me about a gift. My husband was asked to be the best man at his longtime best friend's wedding. We didn't get along super great with his fiancée, but they were a package deal, and of course we wanted to show support. My husband and I live in a major city, and his friend lives in a small town a few hours away. So when it came time for wedding clothes shopping, they came into the city and stayed with us, bringing the friend, his fiancée, her BFF, and her mother. The fiancée invited me to go with them to pick out wedding dress/bridesmaids dresses, as I was the only one not in the bridal party. I thought, just to be inclusive. I went along, and after everything was picked out, the fiancée put her nose about an inch away from my nose and said, "Will you be one of my bridesmaids?" I was caught really off guard and felt like I had no choice but to say yes. This girl is the kind of person who gets her feelings hurt anytime she hears no. Like, even if she invites you to something with no notice and you already had plans, if you say no, it's going to be weeks of drama and pouting. So I stammered something about how flattered I was, and suddenly I was stuffed into a mermaid green monstrosity of a bridesmaid's dress. When it came time to pay for the dresses, I was told that we were expected to buy our own dress. The dress she had picked out for us to wear was about $125. This was an unexpected expense, but I kind of sighed and pulled out my card. Then, when they were buying the wedding dress and mother-in-law's dresses, their card didn't work. Tried 3 times, declined. So I had to pay, and they said they'd hit me back later. Another $450. The best man clothes was a fiasco. The groom decided on formal tuxedos with tails and top hats. The rental on that ended up being $200 plus $50 for a top hat, which I guess we had to buy and couldn't rent. But that's cool. Totally lots more occasions that would call for a top hat, right? So that was that until the week of the wedding. We bypassed a lot of the wedding showers and engagement parties as we were not living in the same area and could not drive down every other week. We did come down the week before for me to attend the bachelorette party and my husband to host the bachelor party, and we stayed till the wedding. I spent about $200 on bachelorette party gifts as another bridesmaid asked me to pick something up for her too, and she wanted me to buy these glass sex toys that were decidedly not cheap. Obviously, she didn't pay me back, and I was getting used to that. The groom is a gamer nerd, so they had a LAN party for the bachelor party. The only expense we ended up fronting for that was alcohol, which ended up being about $300. It became increasingly obvious through the week that no planning had gone into the wedding itself. The city park had been reserved, but no chairs or decorations had been arranged for, and the food and cake were all going to be DIY. It took an army of everyone involved, aside from the bride and groom of course, to make all the finger sandwiches, baby quiches, mini cheesecakes, and other nibbles required. It was the height of summer in the south, and hauling 100 folding chairs and stringing twinkle lights and flowers in above 100-degree weather was indescribably frustrating. Nobody in their right mind would plan an outdoor wedding in July in our area and also select ultra-formal clothing. Nobody. The bride was 2 hours late to her own wedding. She had her friend come and do all our hair, and she expected to be paid $50 each at the end. Money is just hemorrhaging out of me at this point, and I'm in such a state of exhaustion and shock that I no longer care. The wedding happens, everyone seems happy. My husband and I were preparing to drag ourselves home to recuperate physically and financially. Then the bride stops me. She grabs my arm. Oh, I think. This is where she thanks us for helping to make her big nightmarish day a success. No such luck. She's crying and shaking with anger, and she says, "I guess you didn't get me a wedding present. Just so you know, when someone invites you to a wedding, you are supposed to get them a present." I froze, and I could not close my mouth. "I'm sorry, what?" She got dragged off to take such and such picture, and I was still standing there, failing to compute what had just happened to me. We just left. I couldn't really say bye or anything. I was just so done. The car ride home was so much repeating what had happened to each other and just being at a loss. We needed a lot of time to just process how much of a ride we'd been taken on with no thank you, no apologies, and actually they were completely ungrateful and thought that we'd scammed them out of a wedding present. I feel like I need to add that we are not rich. We are young working people who basically empty their bank accounts to help someone else's wedding not be a complete dumpster fire due to a lack of planning. I don't know, saying they were invited is a bit of a stretch when she was impromptu asked to be a bridesmaid and then expected to pay for multiple dresses. But she's military. For a bit of context, I live in a very affluent area. A lot of people are upper middle class, so seeing people with expensive cars, clothes, etc. is nothing new. Now, I grew up without much money, and despite this, my mom told my sister and I always to offer to pick up the tab for a services member because it was the right thing to do. So one day after work, I walked into my local sandwich shop and waited in line. This place was more on the pricier side compared to Subway or something, and usually was understaffed. One guy was taking orders while the other was trying to make them while cutting some stuff. The woman in front of me was military, so I decided then and there I'd pick up her tab. Shortly after I walked in, CB walked in, and I couldn't help but notice the designer clothes she was wearing. I thought nothing of it, as it wasn't uncommon, and ordered my food. When I got to the register, I noticed the military woman looking for her wallet. I told her I'd pick up her tab and thanked her for her service. She was hesitant at first, but then let me when I told her it wouldn't be a problem. She thanked me a few times, gave me a small hug, and walked out with her food. I was feeling pretty great, as it always feels good to do something nice for someone and make the world a little less horrible. I paid for my own food and sat to wait, as I knew it would be a moment. I was on my phone when I had that feeling that someone was too close to me. Looking up, it was Choosing Beggar. Me. Can I help you? I was very uncomfortable, as I don't like people that close to me. CB. Are you going to pay for my food? In my head, I was like, oh no, it's happening to me. A Choosing Beggar has made me their target. Me. No? CB, but you paid for hers. Me. Yes, because she's military, and that's the right thing to do. CB. So? She doesn't get a free pass just because she's military. Me. She deserved it because her job is important. CB. I don't care. Can't you help me out? I'm a single mother trying to provide for my children. There were no kids with her, but who am I to say if she has kids or not? So, my mom was a single mom and provided for her kids just fine and still did nice things for others. It was at this point she noticed my small cross Netflix. CB. In the Bible, it says that you have to help those less fortunate. It is, but you don't seem to be less fortunate than myself. You don't know that. Ma'am, I'm pretty sure your outfit is more than my paycheck. It was at that point that an employee finally noticed what was happening and told the woman she needed to pay for her own food and stop harassing me. She huffed but paid and went to sit down. This whole thing lasted about a minute, give or take, and was quite awkward. The employee slipped a cookie into my bag and left. To any service members that might be reading this, thank you for your service. You rock. Edit. I picked up her tab because I personally felt it was the right thing to do and just something nice. Who knows, maybe she had a bad day. Money can always be made. I work in a coffee shop, and on occasions, I'll see someone struggling to make exact change, so I buy their food for them. Or buy food for one of our regulars because she's a sweet old lady. Bottom line is, if someone is struggling financially, I help them since I used to be in that situation. Also, this happened a week ago, and since then a lot of stuff has happened, so I tried to remember everything as best I could. Well, the Choosing Beggar is kind of right in some regards. Is it anyone's responsibility to buy food for people who are in the military? No, it's no one's responsibility. But it's absolutely her right to do so, and her right to decline to pay for your food. She had her reasons, and she was honestly doing something nice for this woman, regardless of the fact that she had been in the military. If it were someone, a homeless person, someone who was a regular, as she said, in her coffee shop, the situation would be the same. Just because she picked up someone else's tab does not mean that she will pick up yours, and gives you no right to believe that she should. OP just seems like a genuinely good person, and you sure as hell earned the cookie that employee slipped you at the end. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.